Well, so where Cinder came into the conversation was because of e-commerce, but we're going to be talking about exactly how does Cinder play with e-commerce clients, and it's all about that integration piece into QuickBooks Online. So a lot of us struggle with that part. There's a lot of e-commerce clients out there. Kelly, one of the things that she was doing last week is somebody asked her why Cinder over a different app, and her response was because of the flexibility and the different connections. So it was one app for a lot of different clients who were in e-commerce, had several different needs, and that's really what we're going to be diving into today. So very exciting. I will go ahead and just advance us over to introductions. Heather, you want to do an introduction first?
Sure. So I'm Heather Satterley, Director of Education and Media at Woodard, longtime accountant and CPA, and a tech enthusiast. So excited to be with all of you today. For those of you I haven't met, howdy. For those of you that I already know, really great to see you here. Thanks for joining us today.
I love your title. That's great. Director of Education and Media. I love that. So much education that you and I both love. And so
yes, we do.
Fantastic to have one of my favorite people in such a wonderful position. My name is Liz Scott, and hello to most of you who I know. The thing that I love doing is working with tech and bringing it to the people. So the most of my day is spent on designing training. So tech training specifically for accountants. So on-demand training, written resources, how-to articles and videos. That is mostly where my day is spent. So it's very, very enjoyable because I get to explore hands-on all the time, and I love it. I dig it. We have two special guests that are with us today from Cinder. Kinga, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kinga. I am at Cinder. You guys might know me from any of the previous tech companies in our industry that I might have been hanging out at before. But yeah, I'm at Cinder now. It's been, a good 2.5 months, and I'm really proud of the product, and I'm excited for what we're about to show you.
Well, we're so glad that you're back with us, and we're glad that you're with Cinder because it's a product that many of us have been familiar with and hearing about. So to be able to do a deep dive like today on Happy Hour is very exciting.
It is. Thank you.
And to help us with that deep dive, we've got Helen here. So Helen, do you want to do an introduction?
Yes, sure. My name is Helen. I've been with Cinder for 2.5 years already. I'm the exams team specialist, and also from recent times, the accountant program manager. I think we'll slightly discuss what's it about today with Kinga. But yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you all. And yeah, I'm excited to show you Cinder from the inside and show its magic.
Well, fantastic. I want to do a thank you to our sponsors. Many of you know that what we're doing this year is tech stacks. So we have more apps that we're going to be adding to our tech stack very soon. So that's kind of cool that's coming. But what we are doing is talking about tech in our accounting space, and whether it is tech that you're using internally or tech that you're using externally with clients. We want to dive into that. We want to talk about tech stacks. A lot of us are trying to create our own firm tech stacks. So it's really nice to be able to look at this tech holistically and think about where does it fit in and how should or could your firm use it. Hey, you want to talk about our agenda?
Yes, absolutely. So today we have officially welcomed you. So you can cross that one right off your list. We've done that. We're excited to have Cinder with us. We're going to go through a deep dive into Cinder. So as Liz said, we had Kelly Gonzalez with us last week, and she's using Cinder extensively in her practice because she specializes in e-commerce companies. And so you guys had a lot of questions, and now we have Cinder here to help us answer those questions. We're also going to raise a toast, have a drink, and then we're going to share our coolest thing with you.
Awesome. Speaking of drink, I think that
Yes.
this is hilarious that this ended up at the very, very beginning of our slides. Like we are not even 10 minutes in, but boom, here's our drink. So I am never one to delay. I just say, okay, fine, let's dive in. And I love the look of this drink. So it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's like a rainbow. It's
Well, it is like perfect for the area that you're in Santa Fe.
It is. You're right. You're right. Yeah. So I'm in Santa Fe. I'm actually coming to you all from Santa Fe, New Mexico this week. And I will be coming from you. I will be in Santa Fe next week too. And I was in Santa Fe last week. So spending lots of time here, house sitting and dog sitting and cat sitting and guinea pig sitting for my sister. So definitely.
How much trouble can a guinea pig get into?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Yeah. There's like a whole guinea pig culture too. Like I'm discovering that everybody has their thing. I'm into horses. There's a whole horse culture. There's a whole guinea pig culture. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Well, so Cinder Sunset. So cheers to everybody. And we're going to kick it off. And I think that I'm going to probably have Kinga, you want to join in and kind of tell us some about Cinder and some of the automation?
Yes, but just really quickly, I want to tell you something really cool. So you know how like we've been talking about coming onto Appy Hour for quite some time. And at the same time, we've been planning scaling new heights and kind of like what we're going to do. So we do want to say that we do have a Cinder Sunset boat cruise coming up. So it kind of goes really well with our drink. I know, I was just shocked. Imagine being the new girl and seeing how well that worked together. Loved it. So really excited, and more information on that, I guess, later, because I couldn't wait. I had to tell you now before I even started.
I love that. Nobody ever gets sad about hearing about an opportunity.
Yes, exactly. And a sunset boat cruise. And now we know what drink we should have. It's too good.
Okay,
Anyway, Cinder.
So are we going to hear more about that later, or should you just tell now, like what's happening?
Yeah, so it is a very limited availability boat cruise that we're going to do in St. Louis on June 26th. And we're really excited because, we get to get a bunch of people from our industry together, watch the sunset, have a couple cocktails, kind of enjoy our time. So there'll be a DJ and all that fun stuff, which I can't wait to bring everyone on board with us. But we can get you more information at the end. We can include our emails and even a link into the Appy Hour if you do want to join the boat cruise, if you just so happen to be in St. Louis that week.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll put it in
the Facebook, in the thread under the live afterwards.
All right. I love that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I'm here for Cinder, not just for the parties. But joining Cinder, I definitely learned that it has one key feature that I think everyone just goes, oh, finally, and that's automation, because that set it and forget it is not something you can actually do in a lot of apps. And that's coming from experience because I worked at half of them. But you can actually have your transactions automated and you can use almost any e-commerce platform. We sync with around 30 plus different e-commerce platforms, which I think is kind of unreal because they're not all easy peasy, hook it up and onward. But yeah, that definitely allows you to take on multiple clients with different needs, whether they have Wix, whether they need Shopify, Amazon. You can actually take them, add them onto your Cinder account, and that automatically connects with whether you have QuickBooks Online or your Xero accounting tools, which of course, as we all know, just like every other app, saves time, but most importantly, reduces errors. And I think that's the goal. We don't want to miss anything. And we want to make sure that the reporting is where it should be. This allows us to continue to forecast properly, know what orders to make in the future, kind of see where the money's coming and going. And I find that it's super, super helpful.
I agree with you. It's the reduction of errors, and it's the time that's spent tracking down all of the details. That's why automation is so fantastic for all of these e-commerce platforms.
Yeah.
Well, especially, but
once-
yeah, the heavy load of the transactions and the possibility of making an error. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Love it.
great. It's great, and nothing but great feedback on the error reduction. So that was kind of nice and a breath of fresh air to find when, of course, joining a new company. All right, next slide. So I'm just going to give basically in this slide and the next, just some kind of fun facts about the features of Cinder. So you actually do have the option of daily summary and per transaction sync. It's going to be something that Helen will go over, I believe, later on, just to kind of show you how it works. But you can essentially customize how sales are imported into your QuickBooks Online. And I guess we can also say zero account. And you can automate any syncs so that once you set it up, you don't have to worry about it, which is exactly what I just said in the previous slide. But hey, I just worded it differently in this one. I guess we're just trying to reiterate that fact and let you know that you can just do it and it gets all done for you. So it's less work, less time that you're putting into your clients, but you can guarantee that, you know, it's still going to be accurate and it'll come through successfully. Next slide.
Well, and what we're seeing is that there's a whole lot of desire to be able to make that choice between daily summary or the per transaction. You know, there's different use cases for different types of clients that I've worked with. Most of the time, I'm going to say daily summary is going to be my go-to. It's all that we need. But there are times whenever you've got the per transaction, maybe there's, you know, some more complex scenarios involved. So it's nice that you're pointing out here in the very beginning that we've got options.
You know what? And something I found very interesting when I joined Cinder is one, how many people actually preferred that daily summary over the per transaction. I feel like per transaction in my mind would have been the default, or maybe was the default when I heard of, you know, e-commerce transactions in general. And once Cinder came out with daily summary, people were like, what? This is amazing. And now it's kind of becoming the status quo once people realize that it's an option. So yeah, it's good that at Cinder we can actually differentiate between the two.
And I like that you're calling out here per transactions, parentheses, sales receipts, because for us, it makes a difference that it is an actual transaction instead of being a journal entry. It does help us with QuickBooks Online.
Beth, I saw you made a comment about e-commerce being challenging. See, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this automation and finding a program that works specifically for your clients. And it's supposed to take that challenging part away from your accounting or bookkeeping. It's not supposed to be hard. And that's what tech in general is meant to do for your firm. But something like this specifically for e-commerce it's a game changer. And I highly, highly push and recommend at least a demo to see if it works, but you'll see that in a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, I love it. We have comments that are coming in and it's people talking about e-commerce and the frustration of it. So,
yeah.
And I see people saying that they don't have a whole lot of e-commerce clients. I didn't start off with e-commerce clients, y'all. They just kind of grew into e-commerce clients. And when I looked for somebody to send them to, I couldn't find anybody. And that is how originally I got involved with e-commerce clients. And my good friend Murph is in here with us. And so, in the very beginning, I called him up and I was like, question, shopping cart, question, payments. And so there was lots of, at the time, all of these different segmented pieces. Now, a lot of these sales channels have everything looped into one. So at least it's getting easier. But this is the part that a lot of the bookkeepers and accountants that I know struggle with is getting the data from the sales channel over into QuickBooks or Xero, like you said.
Yeah. Also, Jocelyn, for your comment, if you want to read it, I'm not going to read it out loud, but you guys should all just look at Jocelyn's comment. Next slide, please.
You got it. Whoops, I think I went too many. I got excited.
Yeah, I got really excited after that comment too. I do want to mention, and I think the reason why I could talk about smart rules and all that, but I wanted to put this at the top because I think that something that is super important when learning new technology is having confidence in it. The way to get confidence in that technology is to be properly trained in it. You can get a product and look at it and go, great, it does A and B, perfect, that's all I needed for it. But you're missing the other 24 letters of possibility. You want to make sure that you're using the product that you're paying for to its fullest. And you can only get that if you get proper training. And so at Cinder, we actually, do you love that intro? At Cinder, we actually make sure that you get that white glove onboarding, where we walk you through the product. We really make sure you understand, know, and, you know, kind of even love what you're doing with it. Because again, if you're paying for something, it better be worth it. But okay, I'll go to my next point. So there's something that we call SMART rules. And there's what Kelly actually uses this term, that it's the if not this, then that style. For when, you know, the rules aren't that straightforward. So if you want to make a specific type of rule, but, you know, if there's a little intricacy in there, you can actually take it down a little bit further. And I'm not sure if we're going to go through this today specifically, but if you do want to have a one-on-one demo, we can definitely go through SMART rules without me taking up the whole demo today going over that. And then finally, we have Cinder Insights that can also just come out with some really clean reporting, and you can see more detailed sales and expense information for your client's business. Again, we could go back to that whole forecasting scenario, but overall, it just shows you the flow of your business, how the business is doing, what products you need more of, less of, whatever it is. It's all available to you with Cinder Insights. And yeah, I think now, if you guys don't have anything, yeah, we could go into the demo with Helen, who will take over the screen. So you're going to see us all over again.
Okay, sure. Let me share my screen. So if you all don't mind, I'll start with a per transaction sync mode, which we talked about slightly just to show its advantages, and then we'll show, the daily summary sync mode. Okay, so let me know if you see my screen, if it changed. Let me know if you see anything. So,
There it is. There you go.
Okay, awesome. So just before I start diving into Cinder, just wanted to once again highlight differences between the sync modes. So yes, as Kinga mentioned, these per transaction synchronization mode processes the transactions individually by posting separate sales receipts, invoices like expenses, refund receipts, payouts, all those individual transactions to QuickBooks. So as you see on my screen, I have like separate transactions of different types here. Some of them are already in my QuickBooks, some are not. We'll get to the part where I'll be syncing something. But yeah, the first step that should be taken when creating an account with Cinder basically is, connecting the platforms of your clients. In case you don't have credentials or rights to connect some platforms, there is a possibility to invite the client to Cinder, so to grant access to the platforms you wish to be connected. And yeah, after the platforms are connected, it's just like a 5-minute step, basically, when you have all the info. You're in Cinder. And before synchronizing and setting up, you may think of like from what period of time you'd like to synchronize the transactions actually. Maybe only ongoing ones, but in case you want to synchronize something from the history, there is this import historical data button on the right upper corner through which you can actually bring in the data from like an unlimited time platforms connected allow to go that further back. So and when transactions are all in Cinder, not yet in QuickBooks, we truly recommend and really highlight the importance of the setup that should be done initially, because this is like the only way when you know that something is going to a specific place in QuickBooks. And there's like the setting tab here where you're in control of what gets synced and how and where. So I won't be diving deep into the settings because the settings could be very customizable depending on the preferences of the customers and the needs. So, but just quickly telling about the importance, I think, would be it. And in terms of the per transaction synchronization mode, one of the differences that we have with daily summary mode, I want to highlight that initially, like Cinder only had per transaction synchronization mode. And when we just started the company, initially we thought of designing it for business owners themselves. And sometimes we receive requests like people don't know what account should be created in QuickBooks or where to send the stuff. So to ease this process, when connecting a platform like Stripe and Shopify, in my case, with a per transaction synchronization mode, we create for each of the platforms its own clearing account. And I'll jump to QuickBooks real quick to show you. oh, I guess this one. Yeah. So we create a clearing, or someone calls it a holding account, for each of the platforms connected. With the per transaction sync, these two accounts, or one or like five, how many platforms you have connected, will be the places where Cinder synchronizes all types of transactions to show and reflect the actual money flow for each of the platforms you have connected to Cinder. So yeah, in case you or your client already has some of the clearing accounts or holding accounts in QuickBooks already, again, with the settings that are pretty customizable and straightforward, you can choose those accounts that you wish Cinder to send transactions to. But yeah, let me just go back to the platform transactions page here and also mention a case specifically for e-commerce clients, which we heard a lot of people worrying about. So in my case, I have like Shopify and Stripe connected, right? Let's imagine there is a Shopify order that is paid by Shopify Payments. In this case, all the details about the customer, shipping, discounts, fees, they will all be pulled in and synchronized to the Shopify register, to the Shopify clearing account here. But what about in case a Shopify order is paid by PayPal or by Stripe? What happens next? No worries, we won't duplicate the transaction. So there won't be like two identical transactions, one from Shopify and one from Stripe. We won't double the income. What we do actually in terms of synchronizing e-commerce orders that are paid through some payment processors like Stripe, we combine the details from the order from Shopify in my case, let's say, and then add them up with the details from the payment platform connected to Cinder. In this case, yeah, all details are combined, and you receive only one transaction at the end that, yeah, actually recreates the order you have, for example, created on Shopify's end. Um, so yeah, let me go back here, probably initiate a sync for a few transactions. And meanwhile, they're syncing, just also wanted to mention that you don't need to synchronize all of them like in one go in the beginning. You're free to test to make sure the setup is okay, you like how the software works. When you're free and like okay with the setup you've made, you can set the synchronization on auto sync for literally its purpose, initial purpose of Cinder, to make the synchronization happen on the background for you. So you don't even need to log in. But yeah, in the beginning stage and for this demo purpose, I'll do the synchronizations manually. And also point to mention, meanwhile, the transactions are syncing over to QuickBooks, is that we have a rollback feature in Cinder. So through this Actions tab, you can also undo everything that was synchronized by Cinder to QuickBooks. So in this case, let's say you at some point understand that something in the setting was not quite correct, you can go back to Cinder, roll back a couple or like all transactions, redo the setup as you need, and sync everything back in. So yeah, let's get back to the register, to the one I had open here. So this was like the balance before the synchronization. Let me just update the page real quick so we could see how the transactions actually appear here in QuickBooks after the sync in this clearing account. Okay, so I think I had some payouts synchronized here as well. So yeah, basically new transactions were brought in. They are all synchronized individually. We can view the details of some of them, for example, this one. I think I mentioned in the beginning, it's like the most detailed thing that you can have. So let me open the invoice that we've synchronized by Cinder. So the synchronization of the per transaction mode will bring all possible details in case you want them to be pushed over to QuickBooks, like customer details, billing, shipping, details about the products, like description if they have any, tax, shipping if any, discounts, so anything possible. And also the processing fees, that is a quite important point to account for, also will be brought into QuickBooks as a separate expense entity. And the category for these expenses, you can also customize that and choose in the Cinder settings where you want the fees to be, where you want them to go. If we're talking about Amazon, with the smart rules that Kinga slightly mentioned, it's also possible to recategorize different types of fees to different categories, expense accounts in QuickBooks. But the prettiest part I honestly like love about Cinder, and this is what we call Cinder's magic and one-click reconciliation. Let me just switch over to the bank transactions here. So since per transaction processes the payouts individually, and they are created as transfers from those clearing accounts to the checking account you choose in Cinder settings, in case there's a bank connected to QuickBooks Online and you have statements coming in from the bank, when Cinder synchronizes the payouts that we fetch from the platforms connected, we create a transfer transaction that after shows up as a match in the banking tab. So basically, we're preparing the checking account for reconciliation, but you are still in control of what really gets into the checking account, which is important. So yeah, you just need to compare the dates, the amounts. If they match, click on match, and that's it. So yeah, let me know if there are any questions at this point. So I could, switch the demo modes.
Yeah, I have we had a question about inventory. So I noticed when you were showing us the sales receipt, I saw the products and service items on that sales receipt, which I love, by the way, because then you're able to actually see some sales reports right inside QuickBooks. So that's awesome. Some other options or some other platforms only allow you to connect to the sales accounts. So I love that we're seeing the product and service items in here. So the question that came up was, what does Cinder do, if anything, with inventory? So would it rely on QuickBooks Online to keep track of the inventory, or is there functionality within Cinder to manage inventory?
Good question, and I'm glad you brought this one up. It's a very important point, actually, and we have our own logic of understanding what's there inside the transaction. So like use case number one, your client has inventory pre-set up in QuickBooks with a quantity specified, and we pull in the transaction that, let's say, as in my payment, this one I think had like an iPhone, and you have the iPhone product set up in QuickBooks. We check if the names or the SKUs match from the platforms that are connected to Cinder and in QuickBooks. In case the names and the SKUs are matching, we reduce the quantity in QuickBooks for this product. In case they are not matching, so there are like a few ways to go. You can allow Cinder to create the product for you in QuickBooks, and after, like go to QuickBooks and check if you need to change the product income account or edit like the quantity. Or we have also built in automation tools. One is again the smart rules we talked about. So it's possible to like update the transactions based on, let's say, some kind of keyword and update the product that gets synced over to QuickBooks after the sync. Or we also have a product mapping feature within the settings that allows you to, let's say, map the product names from the platforms you have connected with the product names you have in QuickBooks. So during the sync, we could also replace and like swap the products based on the mapping setup. And also like a good point regarding the products creation, that for Shopify a few months ago, we released a possibility to create inventory items. And in this case, we are pulling in the quantities, the price, the cost of goods sold that you have or your client has specified in Shopify. So yeah, let me know if that answers the question or something else comes up.
So can I just make sure I understand, because somebody had a follow-up question in the chat.
Yeah,
So
sure.
does Cinder update the quantities within Shopify now?
So by as a rule, we update the quantities for QuickBooks products if they are set up, but we also have a possibility within Cinder and Shopify's integration to kind of have control on the quantity inside Cinder. So let's say you can update the quantity in Cinder for an iPhone product, and the updated quantity in Cinder will send over this information to QuickBooks and to Shopify and update the quantity on hand on both ends.
So if you have that setting enabled, then basically Cinder becomes the system of record for your inventory quantities. In that case,
kind of,
right?
yeah,
or is
of.
it bi-directional?
It's a bi-directional sync more, in this case. So yeah, let me know if
Nice.
something else comes up for the per transaction.
I think there was one more question about connections in general. So Mag was asking a question about Cinder connects to QuickBooks Online, but can it also connect to authorize.net?
Yeah, for sure. As Kinga mentioned, we have like 30 plus integrations available. Authorize.net is one of them. I think, Kinga, I think we can include in maybe a follow-up email or something, a link to the list of integrations, but just in case on our website, cinder.com, there is a list of all integrations we support, all accounting systems we support. So yeah, just to not, repeat the list of 30 plus integrations, you can have a look at 12 as well there. But yeah, Authorize.net is supported.
I just shared it in the chat.
Aw.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
We also have
You're
another
so much
question.
faster than me. I was literally like going for it. Sorry. I
That
didn't-
doesn't surprise me with Heather. Like sometimes she's got a phrase that a client gave to her. It's called the speed of Heather.
Oh yeah, you're a keyboard ninja. It's amazing.
Yeah. So we have one more question that has been asked, and it is about multiple different Shopify accounts. Now, I'm going to assume that the answer here is it's just another sales channel. So yes, you can connect it. But Shauna's question is, she's got a client who has 2 different Shopify accounts, one for wholesale and one for retail with the same products. Is that going to be an issue?
No, absolutely not. So yeah, you can just separately connect to one organization and Cinder 2 Shopify stores. And yeah, in terms of maybe classifying the transactions, you also can customize to understand after the sync in QuickBooks which transaction came from which account. But yeah, also as I mentioned, for each platform connected, we initially for the per transaction sync create the clearing account. But yeah, if you have some accounts already in action, you can change them in the settings to make Cinder synchronize the transactions where you want them to go.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Heather, do you see any other questions that are coming in? It updates inventory then. Yes, I think that was
Yeah,
what
I was
we were
talking, but I had the mute on because that's what we do these days. So yes, that was what I was saying, was that it does. And from what I understand is that Cinder has a bi-directional sync both to Shopify and to QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So yeah,
And
let
Helen,
me.
sorry, there's just one more request just to talk a little bit slower, just so that everyone can
Okay.
retain it a little bit more. And yeah.
Okay. Sure. No problem.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Helen, one of the things I love about the way that you present is that you're enthusiastic. So
Action.
get it that I'm the same way. I can talk 1,000 miles a minute because I get so excited. So I love having your enthusiasm here with us.
Me too.
Okay.
I love it.
But in the sake of understanding of other people, yeah, I'll talk a bit slower. No worries at all.
We got you covered, Murph.
Yeah, so I guess then we can switch over to the daily summary sync mode, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Let me know when the screen changes to the other page so I could know that I am on the right page. Okay, awesome. So the reason why I started with a per transaction sync from one point is to also help you easier understand the daily summary and how we work, because some points were already covered in the per transaction sync mode I was talking about. The flow is very similar in the beginning. So when the platforms are connected, basically there is the setup that needs to be done before synchronizing something, or also you can import historical data if needed. But the difference with the daily summary synchronization mode, when we see and fetch the details of the transactions, we still kind of analyze them on our end separately, but with the daily summary synchronization mode, we combine those details into one journal entry for one day for one platform. So to make sure within the journal entry, everything goes again where you want it to go, and to make sure you're in control of things that you know what goes where. In Cinder, we have a mapping step. I have a pre-set up account, but yeah, let me just quickly go through with you the mapping step here. So basically, depending on the information that was brought in from the platforms connected, you can see like different lines coming up here that you are to map to some specific accounts your client already has in QuickBooks. You can see a few toggles here. They actually also allow the customization of the mapping here. So let's say you want not just a basic mapping like by income, like sales, expenses, and so on, but you want, let's say, to assign some specific income account for a group of products. So it's possible to enable the product mapping by products to assign those different income accounts. You can also, in the same way, do the mapping by region, let's say for sales tax purposes. You can enable classes, and in this case, like the classes you have created in QuickBooks can be assigned to a specific line on the mapping step here. But just in case, if you're just starting with Cinder and maybe some accounts are not yet pre-set up in QuickBooks, the lines that will be not mapped here yet, they will be highlighted in orange, and on the right upper corner, there will be a button called like suggested mapping, through which you can like see what Cinder suggests in terms of mapping, where you can map some lines, and will ask your permission to allow us create some accounts that might be missing. In case you want, yeah, you accept this suggestion, and we create the accounts in QuickBooks for you. In case you don't, you can go create the accounts in QuickBooks, come back to Cinder, and select them on the mapping step. So yeah, this is how like my mapping looks like. Pretty basic again, but it can be customized. And also, point to mention, we've in term synchronization mode. So different currencies. So yeah, when the mapping is completed, you're okay with it, you can go back to the summaries tab here and actually like test the summaries and how they sync. Again, in the beginning, this can be a manual process. You can sync and test one by one. After you're okay with the setup and you're pleased with the results, you can set everything on auto sync. As yeah, that was why Cinder was designed. So before actually syncing, you also have an ability to, let's say, open a summary from Cinder and see the preview of how the journal entry will look like before even synchronizing it to QuickBooks. So you can see, again, and recheck the mapping you've set up. It will be shown here, and you can also see the transactions that are included into the summary in case you need some clarification from the platforms from the original sales, and through these links you can actually be transferred to the original transactions. But yeah, if you're okay with mapping, yeah, you can start with synchronization from this page here, or we actually have a lot of places where you can start with synchronization of the transactions of the summaries. But yeah, let me initiate one real quick. And meanwhile, it's getting synchronized. Just wanted to mention that the journal entry will be posted to the books not as of date you initiate the sync on our end, but as of date the daily summary, like the summary was actually combined. So when the real transactions happened. So yeah, after the journal entry is synchronized, you can see the results in the books. Let me just open up the results so we can check how this one was synchronized. Okay, let's give QuickBooks a second to open it up. Okay, so yeah, this is how the journal entry looked like, basing on the mapping I had. Yeah, so again, pretty straightforward. What you choose in the mapping will be shown here as the result. An important also note, again, for for daily summary sync mode, we also have the rollback feature, and it is located in the same place in Cinder. Let me just jump over here. You can click on the summary line and click on rollback in case you want to undo the sync from QuickBooks end. Let's say change the mapping and resynchronize the summary back into QuickBooks. Also, one thing that is similar with the per transaction synchronization mode I wanted to speak about. Let's say we have, I think this will be the summary I'll be showing on. No, not this one. I want to find one that has a payout inside, just in case. Maybe this one. Let's see. Yeah. So in case there is a payout that happened throughout the day, and we pulled it in to the journal entry, to the summary, you will see it coming up like as an online sales bank, and it is transferred to the account you've chosen in the mapping. So the checking account. The similarity with the per transaction synchronization mode is the following. If I go to the bank transactions here, let's again imagine I have an online bank. I didn't, because so I just imported the statements. But let's pretend you have an online bank account connected to QuickBooks. it receives the bank statements from the bank, and we synchronize the journal entry that has that line that specifies the amount of a payout that was processed through that day. So the same thing, you will see a match found. You will see a match found as of the date when the payout was processed. The amount of the payout will be shown up here. The only difference with the per transaction sync that you'll see like the journal entry as a match. But these amounts of a bank statement and the payout included should be matching with the date. If they are, you click on match, voila, checking is reconciled. So yeah, that would be, let's say, all the things I wanted to show my side. So yeah, let me know if we have any other questions in terms of the daily summary synchronization mode.
Of course we do. Heather, you want to go first?
Awesome.
So my question is, I know you showed this, the summary sync. So the summary sync only happens as a journal entry. Is that correct? Or
Yeah,
is,
so the daily summary synchronization only happens as a journal entry synchronization. So as mentioned, one journal entry will be there for one day for one platform. If I just quickly go back to the summaries line in Cinder, just to quickly show you, like I also have Shopify connected here. So we can also expect several journal entries for different platforms, but for one day. But yeah, one journal entry
Okay.
per day per platform.
so if you want to use the summary sync, then you wouldn't have that inventory syncing functionality. That's only if you're doing the per transaction. Is that correct?
So yes, in case you need to track quantity on QuickBooks and deduct the quantity on hand in for QuickBooks products, we suggest going with the per transaction sync mode, as well if your clients care about the customer details, because with the journal entry synchronization, we won't like overload QuickBooks with customer details, but with per transaction, you can do so. Yep. So, but here the point is that you also can let's say account for the cost of goods sold. So yeah,
Mhm.
in case inventory items like the quantity is not so critical, you're free to go with the daily summary sync mode. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Thank you.
Got it.
Oh.
Got it. Well, so we've got a couple of questions here. So Matt had asked a question and it was about the connection and the sync. If the default when you set it up is summary or if it's per transaction.
Okay, so basically when connecting and when creating a account for the client in Cinder, let me show you. If you go like to the drop down, you can click on connect client and this will bring you to the first onboarding steps for a new client you connect. You are to choose there the synchronization mode you'd like to go with. It has some like aspects and advantages specified for both of them. But just in case, let's say you've chosen an incorrect sync mode for the client already, you can go to My Account here in the daily summary mode and actually from here also switch the synchronization mode. So you can click on per transaction on this how to change mode, and this will bring you again to the onboarding step where you can change the synchronization mode for this client.
I love that. I love that. So in a scenario where we would have multiple different accounts that we would sync, where would we go to initiate inside of Cinder those connections?
The auto sync you mean, or just like the connection, the first time connection?
The first time connection, yeah, like maybe if we
Oh,
wanted to see what all was connected, is there
oh
a
yeah,
dashboard that
sure.
we would go for that?
So you can do and connect with platforms or through the onboarding step, but in case you forgot to connect something and you want to add the platform later, you can again go to My Account and then click on add integration, choose the one from the list that you want. Actually, yeah, some integrations that we support, so you can check them out here. You choose the integration you forgot to connect to Cinder, you choose it, let's say Shopify, and yeah, just enter the details and yeah, click on connect and they're connected.
Awesome.
And you
Awesome.
can, yeah, and you can manage how the platforms are synchronizing again through the same page if all are connected or maybe something was disconnected.
So let me ask a question. If I'm working with a Shopify client and they're using Stripe payments, your recommendation is to connect both Shopify, because that's where I'm going to see my sales information, and Stripe, because that's where I'm going to see my payment information.
Yes, you're right. We recommend to connect as many possible payment gateways and sales channels that your clients have to Cinder, so we could Yay. So we could capture and to have a full picture of what is happening in the platforms, what order is paid by which payment processor. Because sometimes, when everything is connected to Cinder, it's easier also for you to understand what's happening in QuickBooks, because we have a system inside Cinder that checks for duplicates. So we won't let you synchronize the same transaction or summary twice to QuickBooks. But we cannot guarantee that other platforms and other apps have such functionality and they check for duplicated transactions. So we recommend, if you wish to go with Cinder, to connect as many possible platforms as possible to us to make sure, the synchronization is as accurate as possible.
Well, then, Helen, that follows me into this, or that leads me into this next question, which is, Shauna had another question. It was asking about the connections. And when you were scrolling down, I saw ShipStation on there, which then makes me think of all of these different integrations that are available out there. Her question was, does it sync to shipping software? Well, I see ShipStation right on there. Do you want to kind of explain, like, maybe the shipping connection, or what that data would be pulling over?
So basically, the flow would be similar. So for some integrations that we have supported, I will honestly say some of them have very strict APIs that do not allow us, to connect as many details as we wish we would, synchronize.
Sure.
But yeah, as for ShipStation, like, as far as I remember, the shipping income information would be there. We can at the end there will be like a screen to schedule a one-on-one demo, just in case. We can look into the details for like specific customers, clients you have on one-on-one to make sure like what info is brought into QuickBooks from ShipStation.
Hello, that's a perfect answer. Like, I feel like every client's going to have a scenario where it's very specific to their particular needs. So following up to be able to see what that connection would look like and some of the possibilities that are available. And it's like you said, if it's something that's in the API that's open for you to be able to grab that data, that yes, you can do things with. If it's not available, then that would be something that in my case, what I do is I rely on Shopify is going to have that connection with the shipping information. So I'm going to see all my shipping information there. But like you just pointed out, there is income that is associated with shipping. So you would be able to have a few more details.
Yep. Yes. So
And
go ahead.
Oh, no, I know you go.
Oh, Heather, I think you're muted.
No, I said I was going to change the subject. So you finish and then I'll pipe in.
Oh, okay. I already forgot what I wanted to say, but yeah. Oh, what I wanted to say is that, it's pretty goes down to the preferences of the clients and your preferences in terms of how to, do the accounting. And again, for customization purposes and for making sure that you have the proper setup in Cinder and you receive the results you want in QuickBooks, we have, the white glove onboarding. We have a support team specialists available 24/7 for, to assist you here. And we also have like inbuilt tools as smart rules to make the synchronization as accurate and custom if needed as possible. So yeah.
And I see a question here from Kat, and it's saying, how would you avoid duplicates? I'm going to say one of the things that's being identified is that unique ID. And so when Cinder's seeing that, it's going to know that there's information about that particular transaction or group of transactions that are duplicate.
Yes, exactly. And for example, we also have different statuses inside Cinder that let you know what's the process with the journal entry. Was it synced or is it just ready to sync? We have various filters of transaction statuses, like was the journal entry fully fetched or partially fetched, meaning like some transactions are still in process on the payment platform site. But yeah, we won't let you synchronize the same entry twice. Otherwise, the status will change to the synced one, to the skipped one. And same with the per transaction synchronization mode. The ID numbers, Liz, you are absolutely right. The ID numbers of each transactions are, yeah, they are different and they're custom, and we check them when we synchronize something. And when you initiate a sync and we see that, okay, this, let's say Stripe transaction was already there with this ID, we won't sync it. So it's kind of a custom logic that we have on our end.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm going to say there's even more questions that are still inside of our chat right now. And this feels like a good time to launch the poll just because there are so many questions. We're trying to get to them all, but there's some very specific scenarios, and there's also some cases that are unique, a demo, to be able to ask some of those very specific questions to see further. I think that there was some questions about, a lot of people here are familiar with the idea of syncing data, but they've got particular questions or different connections. So getting people over into a demo, I think, would be the most awesome choice. We've got people coming in, and lots of you are saying yes to demos.
Yeah, I love how many apps you have on your platform. So, and the apps that I'm seeing are apps that, I'm no longer in practice now, but before I left practice, I'm seeing, different apps like WePay and, WorldPay, which were platforms that other solutions don't connect to. So really happy to see that you guys have such an extensive list of connections, because that does allow us as an accounting firm to use one solution across most of our clients, right? Because our clients, when they're coming to us, a lot of times they've already selected their solution and we're kind of stuck with what they've already built their processes around. And the fact that you have so many different platforms included in your connections just makes it easy for us, because we only have to learn one platform, which I love. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, just to add on top of what you've just said, in case some clients have some local payment processors that are not yet supported with Cinder, we also have a possibility to import the Excel spreadsheets. Let's say you've exported the report from some kind of a local platform. You customize it a little bit so Cinder could understand the data, and you can import this Excel spreadsheet to after continue the automatic sync. So yeah, there's no need to also, manually enter the transactions from some local systems, but you can also do that with Cinder.
Fantastic. No, that's great. So I'm going to count everybody down. We've had the poll up for just about 2 minutes, but just in case somebody had, walked away for a second, I'm going to count you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. So we have quite a bit of people that are really interested in reaching out. So we'll send that over to you later today. I had one other question, if I can ask. I was totally scoping out your integrations page because I had shared the link, so I clicked on it, and I'm seeing what, and if I've missed this, then I apologize, but I don't think I did. What is Cinder Books? So you have an application called Cinder Books. What is that?
Yes, actually, that's our standalone accounting system inside Cinder. So basically, in case your client doesn't have QuickBooks Online or another accounting system and they are searching for one, Cinder can also be it and basically be the endpoint of where the transactions are going into. So again, Cinder Books, yeah, standalone accounting system. You just connect the platforms. Yeah, they pull in the data. You can also connect some banks already. Yeah,
Wow.
and have Cinder as an accounting system.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, I've got it pulled up on the screen right now. Here's a QR code if you want to use it. And I am going to, again, say thank you for being one of our sponsors of Appy Hour. We are grateful to have you. Kelly gave a lot of high recommendations. And so there was a lot of people who had joined last week's episode and who are here asking those questions. And so it's always great because anybody who's asking a question, there's somebody else going, ooh, I was thinking that too. So
Right.
if you wrote in a question, you're like, oh, is that a silly question? Just know there are other people here going, I want to know also. It's great to be able to ask those questions and have you both here with us. We have got a lot happening that's going on, so make sure to connect with us. Go and look at those recordings of different episodes. This particular episode will be available later on this week, and so you'll be able to see the recording very soon on both our website and on YouTube. And then I will also say we've got some cool stuff coming up, Heather.
We sure do. We have our more of our lovely practitioners that are going to come on and share their tech stack. So we're really excited about that. We have more deep dives and we have some more Appy campfire chats. So we're looking forward to those as well. And of course, we have Scaling New Heights, which is coming up in just less than 4 weeks now. So I'm excited to see you guys there. Liz and I will be there. Cinder will be there, so definitely stop by and visit their booth. And yeah, we have we're getting into that fun part of the year. So
Yeah, they're gonna have the sunset cruise happening with the drinks. Yeah, that's exciting.
Well,
Yeah, and I'm gonna make sure that everybody knows Karen, we got to talk to her again today and she's awesome. So make
she
sure
is
to
awesome.
attend that episode that's coming up because she's going to be sharing her tech stack and she's got about 12 employees and about 100 clients, and her tech stack and her logic is really, really well thought out.
Agreed. Yeah, no, that's going to be a fantastic episode. So really looking forward to having her come on to Appy Hour. So Kinga and Helen, thank you so much for joining us today. This was fantastic. Lots of engagement in our chat, lots of questions. People are excited. We had lots of responses. So we're really looking forward to partnering with you this year. And we thank you for coming on and spending the afternoon with us.
thanks for having us. That was
Thanks
great.
for inviting.
And wonderful presentation, Helen. I know that you have so much to show that it naturally is going to be something that's like, ooh, how do you take everybody through all of this information so quickly? And you did a beautiful job.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, did my best. So, but yeah, again, custom cases can be discussed on one-on-ones.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. We are always thrilled to be able to spend this time with you, and we will see you all shortly. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.